This is PTS, so everything you see here is subject to change. Some elements are still work in progress. So if this is different when the update actually goes live, don't be surprised. As you know, PTS is always still a bit of a work in progress build. So what should we start with? So
Seasonal journey, new progression system.
yes. So as you know, with this update, we're changing seasons. And the idea is, to kind of try to change a bit the mix and to create a bit of a different experience with the season and try to have the ingredients so that with every season we can offer something that is a bit different and a bit fresh, as opposed to today where every season, eventually becomes a bit repetitive. So we have a few systems, a few new things we want to show you here in terms of what that means. And the first one is, yes, the seasonal journey. So what you will notice is when you go into the season screen now, this is actually quite different now. There's 4 tabs you will see up there. We have the season pass, the journey, priority objectives, and the events timeline. On the PTS, you will just have access to journey and priority objectives. The other 2 are blocked. But so the journey in itself, what this is this is a new way to progress into into the season. So instead of progressing your season and your season pass by just gaining XP by doing whatever and trying to find the most optimized way to gain XP, you will now have a journey that is a series of missions, each one of them made of a bunch of objectives. So the idea here is to help and guide you a bit more through the season progression by giving you increasingly harder and more time-consuming objectives. And this is your main way at the beginning of the season, at least, to gain season progression. So you will see that on each of those journeys or each of those missions, we give you some rewards. So that can be materials, that can be XP, that can be a bunch of things. Of course, the season pass XP here, and you also get. So this is the reward here. I hope people actually see my pointer. Yes, this is the reward here for completing that whole mission. This is here. What you see here is just the details and the rewards for each one of those objectives. So each objective you complete gives you reward, and then when you complete the whole mission, you will get a bigger pack of rewards. And as you complete the mission, then you unlock the next one, and so on and so forth. These are not timed or time-gated, so you can do all of them at once when the season starts, depending on which pace you wanna have in your progression. And one thing that's important to note is that you actually have 8 objectives here, but you only need to complete 6 to complete that mission and unlock the next one. So the idea is to give you a bit of choice. If there is one objective you really don't want to do, you can skip that one because you have enough options to actually still complete that mission and move on to the next one. So as I said, you gain reward for doing those missions. And so there are 7 missions in this season. And starting from the 4th mission, you're going to see something here, which is the Isaac mod unlock. And as you know, and we'll show that a bit after, one of the big changes with this new season formula is that we are going to have seasonal modifiers now that are going to be altering the way you play and give you new build opportunities. So the seasonal journey is going to be one way for you to unlock some of those modifiers. The ones that we call active modifiers are going to be unlocked through that journey. So you unlock one here, one on the next mission, and another one on the mission number 6. And then you have a final mission for extra rewards. So this is where you're going to be unlocking the active modifiers. And that's going to be, as I said, the main way of gaining season progression in the initial moments, in a way. Once you have maxed out that season journey, you can actually move on to the next system, which is this one, priority objectives. Priority objectives are unlocked directly, just to be clear, so you can do that alongside your seasonal journey, but those keep going even after you've completed your seasonal journey. And the idea with the priority objectives is that this is a pool of, you see, 3 assignments, and you get a limited amount of information when you get to pick one. So you have to see, depending on how much time you want to invest into it, what kind of rewards are you after, and where do this take place. So you see this one is, that it's going to be a stronghold in Washington, D.C. You don't know which stronghold, but you know that it's going to take some time, but you're going to get some XP. Of course, the XP is going to scale depending on how long the activity actually takes. This one is a mission in Washington, D.C. as well, or open world activities. So there's a bunch of different things. All of that is going to be picked at random every time you do one. So you never really know what you're going to get. But yeah, this is a great way for you to unlock rewards. These also provide season progression and season pass XP. So that's another way for you to gain that progression and a way to continue gaining product progression once you've maxed out your season journey.
One thing I want to mention that we only have Washington DC here, but it would be possible to get objectives that are set in New York, and even once we get the new DLC, it's also going to become a part of the selection.
Yes. Yeah, so you can get objectives in different maps. Of course, you always have alternatives. So you can get an objective in New York even if you don't own the Worlds of New York DLC, but that's okay because you will always have the other two that are going to be in Washington DC. So the aim is that you will always have options available. But if you own the expansion Worlds of New York and later on with Brooklyn, you will be able to use those as alternatives. So the idea is to make you explore and use the whole content that is available to you. One thing that you will notice on this, which is actually random, so good. It was not intended, but it is. You'll see on this one, the middle one, the reward here is a modifier. So as I said, the active modifiers you will unlock by doing the season journey. But then we have something that we call the passive modifiers. And again, I will explain what that is. Those you unlock through priority objectives. So you will need to do both to unlock all of the modifiers that are available to you. So when you see one of those here that is highlighted, you know that if I complete these priority objectives, I will be rewarded with a modifier. So you can go ahead and pick it up, basically. And once you've picked it up, we reveal what the objective is. And now you know what reward you're actually going to get. You know which modifier you're going to get. There's no duplicate. So, of course, if you already have a modifier, we're not going to give you the same modifier again. So there is a predictable amount of priority objectives you need to do until you unlocked all of them. So then you can just basically go ahead and complete that mission. And you will get, on top of all the normal rewards of that mission, you will also get that modifier. You can, of course, combine. So if that mission would actually also be a target in a priority objective, you can optimize and potentially, or a target in a seasonal journey, you can actually optimize and combine assignments together to progress even faster.
And once the priority objective is selected, you cannot actually re-roll it or go back and choose another one. So you will have to complete this one to be given a chance to select a new one afterwards.
Yeah. So you need to think about your decision. The good thing is when the three you have, before you make a decision, if you don't like any of the three, you have the opportunity to re-roll, and this is shown here underneath. So you can have up to 3 rerolls, and you gain rerolls by completing priority objectives. So you need to complete a few of them, and then you gain opportunities to do a reroll if you don't like any of the options. So there is a chance for you to change in case all 3 of them are not interesting to you.
Yeah, and rerolls would also give an opportunity to choose a different reward. Mm-hmm. And since you already mentioned that modifiers are quite rare compared to other rewards that you can get, there is actually not a big chance that you might end up with a modifier. But then again, you will be able to choose between XP, seasonal XP, credits, crafting materials. There are actually 9 types of them, and exotics.
Yep.
You can see it on the screen that there are 7 journey missions, and they going to be unlocked depending on your level within the game. So, of course, the first one will be available to everyone starting from level 1, the second one from level 10, the third one from level 30, and then starting from the fourth one and onward, it's only going to be available for players with level 40.
So you're going to, if you are a very active player and one that progresses fast, you should be able to complete the journey fairly fast. We will see how long, and that's all going to be subject to balancing and PTS feedback, so please do tell us. And once you've completed that, then that's usually where the priority objectives become even more relevant. As I said, you can do priority objectives alongside your journey, but even when you completed your journey, the priority objectives and all the other activities in the game remain available. So then you can always use that to keep progressing if you haven't maxed out your season pass at this point and unlocked all the rewards. But yes, it is intended that the season journey does not take the whole 3 or 4 months of a season to complete. Cool. So modifiers, and I see some questions in chat in terms of modifiers. So modifiers, you're actually going to find them in your inventory. And you will see that we put that here. So you see now you actually have access to your Isaac brick, and that's going to be where the modifiers sit now moving forward. So when you go in there, you're going to see a whole new screen, which is the season modifier. And so the season modifier is made of 4 things. One, there is the global modifier. And that global modifier is the one you see here. And that global modifier applies throughout the entire content. So when the season is active, the global modifier applies. You can deactivate it if you want. If you really don't like it, or for specific cases, if you want to deactivate it, you can. But as soon as it's activated, this one applies all the time. And this is a straight out bonus for you as a player. So this season, the global modifier is called Point Blank. And this is one that is working with range. So what we're doing is we're dividing range into 3 zones: blue zone, yellow zone, and red zone. And the further away the enemies are, so the longest or the further zone they are, the higher the damage bonus. So you'll see in short range, in blue zone, you will have 1.2 times, that's an interesting wording, 1.2 times damage. Medium range, so 20%, 35%, 50% damage bonus, depending on which zone there is. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward bonus, but then of course it becomes more intricate because we have more modifiers. As I said, so this is the one that applies all the time. Then we have the second type of modifier, which is the active modifier, and this is where we start giving you choice. So these active modifiers are the ones you're going to unlock through the season journey. And these ones are basically an ultimate ability that you can select, so you have to pick one of those 3. And when you trigger that ultimate ability, it will change the way the global modifier behaves. So for example, I'm trying to think which one. This one is the most obvious one, called Reversal. When you trigger this one, you swap the bonus ranges. So suddenly, the closer the enemies are, the more damage you do to them. So then it's up to you to actually create builds around that and to see how to make the best use out of that. So you have 3 of them that behave in different ways. So you can also swap them depending on the situation or what type of content you're going to be doing. And just to be clear, this whole thing, this whole package of seasonal modifier, this will change with every season. So what you see here, this is what will apply in the next season, in season 2. The season after that, this is going to be a whole different proposition. The third type of modifier is the passive modifier. So that's down there. And those are basically modifiers that change what happens in a range when you have them equipped. Those are not on trigger. They're usually always active. Some of them have trigger conditions, but it's not a button I'm going to press. It's just a bit like a talent. If I do a headshot, this thing happens or whatever. And they're divided in short range, medium range, long range, and some of them are multi-zone. So short range means those modifiers only apply to enemies that are in short range. Those only apply to enemies in medium range and long range. And multi-zones are the ones that apply on all range or that have multi-zone conditions. So I'm not going to go through all of them because it's quite intricate and you know how we are. Sometimes some of those descriptions can be a bit long. So it's going to be up to you to actually figure it out. But once again, you can pick 3 of them, up to 3 of them. So then it's about you combining things with the global modifier, the active modifier you want to use, then the passive modifiers, and the active modifier, when you trigger it, might interact with the passive as well. For example, we have one active modifier that is this one. The active modifier prime time. When you trigger it, all the passive modifiers that are called minor modifier here, but they're going to be called passive modifier eventually, become effective in the medium range. So what that means is that even if you pick some short range or long range ones here, when you trigger your active modifier, they will apply in the medium range. So once again, it's really up to you to theory craft all of this and try to figure out what works best for your playstyle. And then the final type of modifier, that's the one that allows the world to react to you, because all we are doing here is giving you power. We are just making you stronger with all of those modifiers. Some of them have a bit of a risk reward or a bit of a price to pay. For example, this one, for example, headshot damage is increased by 150%, but body shots did greatly reduce damage at long range. So this one, for example, you see there is a penalty for using it, but therefore a reward as well. But otherwise, usually they're all pretty much bonuses. So the way we actually make sure that the game still remains challenging and interesting is that we have the final type, which is the one here, which is called the hostile modifiers. And those you do not choose. Those are unlocked from the beginning, and they will unlock as you progress through the season. But these are modifiers that are going to be applied to the NPCs. So these are new abilities that the NPCs will unlock as you progress through the season. And they will basically present a new challenge. So they are also based on range. But this gives NPCs extra abilities or extra bonuses depending on the archetype and on the range that they're in. Those modifiers are going to be a way to rethink the way you're going to be picking up that fight, because the way you used to beat them might not work anymore based on those modifiers. One thing, because I see that being discussed in chat, no, the modifiers will not apply in PvP. So the last element in here that we want to talk about, it's the Manhunts. And we have also changed and streamlined a bit the way the Manhunts worked. So you're still going to go in the same place, but the Manhunt screen has changed. So where we used to have 4 targets unlocking a prime target, and each target was unlocked every month with a set of activities, now we've changed that to an actual weekly cadence. So instead of 4 targets and 1 prime target, we no longer have 4 targets. Now you're going to have what we call scouts. And scouts is a series of assignments that you're going to have to do. We have 14 of them, so that's basically going to take you throughout a big part of the season. So each scout is going to unlock every week. So those will unlock on a weekly cadence. If you haven't done the one from last week, don't worry. If you log in, you will be able to do it as well. You will actually have to do it before you unlock the one of this week. But you can catch up all the way to the end of the season. And those scouts are, as I said, weekly activities. They have a series of assignments, but are assignments that you actually need to decipher. So we are not going to tell you directly, go do that thing. We're going to give you, at least in this season, we're going to give you a small riddle, and you need to solve that riddle to understand what needs to be done. So for example, here in this scout, we tell you that you have to go to Foggy Bottom, which is the name zone Foggy Bottom, and then something about taxis. So you need to figure out what activity is there in Foggy Bottom that is related to taxis. Once you do that, you unlock that activity, you get the next one, or you completed that activity, you get the next one, and then the next one. And once you've completed those 3 activities, you unlock the rewards of that scout. And of course, one of the main rewards of that scout is going to be some XP and small things, but the main reward of that scout is going to be the voiceover collectible of the week. And then you unlock the ability to do the next scout if it is already unlocked by the season schedule. As we said, they unlock every week. Once you've completed the scouts, you unlock the climax mission. Important to note, yes, you will need to do all 14 scouts to unlock the climax mission. So if you show up late, when the climax mission unlocks, you will have to catch up and unlock the scouts the same way that it was today with the targets. And then you can unlock the master climax. And the idea with the master climax is that this is a new difficulty that is going to be available only on the climax mission. And this difficulty is here to challenge you and to show, or to kind of test if you have mastered the season and mastered the modifiers. So it's going to be tougher NPCs in general, and also tougher mechanics, and challenges based or hopefully utilizing the modifier as well. But it is harder than heroic for sure. This is really meant to be a real tough challenge for everyone. I see somebody picking up on the 60 round Sentinel, and yes, that's a good point, and that's a big one big thing with this season. We've basically rebalanced every single item in the game. And as usual, because I already see people asking for no nerfs, this is a PTS. The patch notes are a proposition. So before screaming about the unfairness of nerfs, please read the patch notes. Please, if you can, test it in a PTS and then give us feedback. Everything can always change, but we need the feedback for that. So we need your help to try things out. And if you think that some of the changes are too drastic or are really ruining items, just let us know and we'll look at it. The way we've tried to approach this balancing pass is we've looked at the overall performance and power value of each item. We looked at the best ones, the worst ones, and we tried to find an in-between that is generous, so an in-between that is not in the middle, that is more towards the up part, and buff everything that was underneath that to that level. If things are above that, some of them we try to bring down, not necessarily all the way to that level, just a bit down to bring them closer to that level. So the buffs are going to be more significant than the nerfs, but there are a few outliers in here that we've tried to tone down ever so slightly to try to bring them closer to the rest in order to, try to make other options a bit more viable.